Jey Uso and Rhea Ripley have been acting as each other's support systems over the last few weeks. The same was on display recently as the reigning Intercontinental Champion sent a message to Mamie following a disappointing end to her match at WWE Bad Blood 2024. Rhea Ripley and Liv Morgan faced off for the Women's World Championship at the company's recently concluded PLE. While Dominic Mysterio was suspended above the ring in a shark cage during the bout, he still managed to influence the outcome of the match as he fell out of the shark cage, which distracted the referee and allowed the returning Raquel Rodriguez to attack Mamie. However, the match ended in DQ as the referee called for the bell following interference. Although Ripley managed to win, the title did not exchange hands as it was not a clean victory. While more and more people are turning against Rhea, the Eradicator seems to have the unwavering support of Jey Uso, who sent her a message after WWE Bad Blood 2024. The Yeet Master was present in the crowd during Mamie's match, along with Kathy Kelly. He posted the clip of Rhea's entrance with a short message on his Instagram stories. Do CM Punk and Drew McIntyre hate each other off camera? Pro wrestling legend, thanks. So, while Jey Uso and Kathy Kelly are two of Rhea Ripley's biggest supporters, WWE interviewer Jackie Redmond believes that Kelly is hurt because Mommy chose the former Bloodline member over her after she got dumped by Dominic Mysterio. While Mamie may have been in a slump recently, Jey has been firing on all cylinders. The 39-year-old star won the Intercontinental Championship a few weeks back on Raw. The Yeet Master will put his title on the line against Xavier Woods in the upcoming edition of the Red Brand. Rhea Ripley stood in the center of the ring, her chest heaving, sweat dripping from her brow as the reality of the night settled in. The crowd's energy still buzzed around her, but she no longer heard them. She was in a world of her own, trapped in the deafening quiet of failure. For weeks leading up to WWE's Bad Blood, she had been confident. She had been the dominant force in the women's division, known for her ruthless attitude and unmatched power. But tonight, it had not been enough. The title slipped through her fingers, and in that moment, she felt the sting of defeat. As the cameras focused on her, Ripley's usual fiery demeanor was momentarily subdued. The cheers and jeers faded into white noise. She looked at the championship belt she had failed to capture, feeling the weight of the moment sink in. It was a rare sight to see the Eradicator in such a vulnerable state. Backstage, the chaos of the night continued. Superstars celebrated, medics attended to the wounded, and production teams hustled to keep the show running. Amidst all the noise, Jey Uso leaned against the wall, watching the monitors. He had been on a journey of his own, a path riddled with betrayals, unexpected alliances, and self-discovery. But tonight, he wasn't thinking about himself or even his future with the Bloodline, or the uneasy alliance with Damian Priest. His eyes were fixed on Rhea Ripley, her defeated form on the screen capturing his attention. Jey had been in that same position countless times, a moment of failure in front of thousands of fans, under the brightest lights, with the highest stakes. It was a lonely place to be, but something about the way Rhea stood there, her head still held high despite the loss, resonated with him. The locker room door creaked open as Rhea stepped inside, the faint remnants of the audience's chants still echoing in her mind. She peeled off her gear in silence, her usual boisterous energy tempered by the weight of the loss. She caught her reflection in the mirror, eyes narrowing in defiance. This wasn't over, not by a long shot. As she sat down on the bench, her phone buzzed beside her. She ignored it at first, thinking it was just another notification from social media or a message from her stablemates in Judgment Day. But when it buzzed again, she grabbed it instinctively. It was a message. Not from Dominic Mysterio, not from Finn Balor, not even from Damian Priest. It was from Jey Uso. She raised an eyebrow in surprise. She and G didn't often cross paths outside of the ring. Sure, they were both caught up in their own respective battles. He with his estranged family and she with the dominance of Judgment Day. But they had never shared anything beyond the occasional backstage glance, or the in-ring exchanges that everyone saw. Curious, she unlocked her phone and opened the message. Jey Uso, yo Rhea, tough break tonight, but remember, loss ain't forever. We all take lows. What matters is how you come back. Seen it too many times, and trust me, you've got the heart to rise. Don't let it eat you up. You know what you're capable of. Rhea stared at the message for a moment, her thumb hovering over the screen. It was short but genuine. Not some forced pep talk or empty words of consolation. Jey knew better than anyone how much those fell flat. No, this was different. This came from a place of experience, of someone who understood the grind, the pain, and the highs and lows of this business. She smirked at the message, a small chuckle escaping her lips. The idea of Jey Uso, one of the toughest and most tenacious superstars, reaching out to her after such a defeat, it was almost amusing. But there was something about his words that stuck with her. She hadn't expected it, but in a way, it was exactly what she needed to hear. She could remember the countless nights where she had come out on top, leaving her opponents crushed and defeated, with nothing but the sound of her own name being chanted by the crowd. And now, here she was, feeling the weight of what it meant to fall short. Back at the hotel, Jey sat on the edge of his bed, his mind still racing from the night's events. His journey back to being main event Jey Uso was still filled with uncertainty. Aligning with Damian Priest was a gamble, one he wasn't sure would pay off in the long run. But for now, he was in survival mode, just trying to find his footing in a company where alliances shifted like quicksand. Sending that message to Rhea wasn't something he had planned. It had just felt right. He'd seen something in her that reminded him of himself, not just the toughness, but the way she carried herself. Like him, she wasn't just fighting for titles. She was fighting for respect, for her place in this chaotic world of WWE. Moments passed before his phone buzzed with a response. He glanced at the screen, feeling a sense of curiosity build inside him. When he saw it was from Rhea, he opened it without hesitation. Rhea Ripley, appreciate that, Jey. This ain't my first loss, and it won't be my last. But you're right. It's how we come back. I've been watching you too. You've had your own demons to deal with. We both know what it's like to carry that weight. Jey smiled slightly as he read the message. It wasn't sentimental or overly emotional. Just a simple acknowledgement, a warrior's response. In that moment, a connection was formed, not born out of friendship or even mutual respect, but out of a shared understanding of what it meant to struggle in the spotlight. They weren't so different after all. Both had fought their way to the top, both had faced impossible odds, and both had come out the other side battered but not broken. It was strange to think that a loss, something that was supposed to be demoralizing, could create a bond between two people who had never really spoken much outside of the ring. As the night wore on, both Jey and Rhea found themselves thinking about the paths that were on. There was no guarantee that things would get easier, no promise of redemption or success. But there was something comforting in knowing that they weren't walking those paths alone. The next day at Raw, Rhea entered the arena with the same swagger she always had. Her defeat at Bad Blood was already fading in her mind. She had bigger plans. Judgment Day wasn't about individual glory, it was about domination. She would bounce back. She always did. As she walked through the backstage area, she caught a glimpse of Jey. Their eyes met for a brief second, and in that moment, no words were needed. A slight nod from Jey, a knowing smile from Rhea, and they went their separate ways.